Elect Donald Trump just finished taking questions from reporters on literally dozens of topics. So here he is moments ago talking about a decision that allowed Ukraine to fire U.S.-made long-range missiles into Russia. Listen to that.
I don't think they should have allowed missiles to be shot 200 miles into Russia. I think that was a bad thing. And that brought the Koreans in, North Korea, another man I get along with very well. I'm the only one that does. But that did a lot of bad things. I don't think that should have been allowed. Not when there's a possibility, and certainly not just weeks before I take over. Why would they do that without asking me what I thought? I wouldn't have had them do that. I think that was a big mistake they made.
Will you reverse that decision when you're in office to let those
I might, yeah.
missiles be
I thought it was a very stupid thing to do.
So let's bring in politics reporter for 24/7 News, Tom LoBianco. Tom, nice to have you with us on CBS News 24/7. That's what the president-elect said about Ukraine and Russia. What did you make of that news conference?
Further evidence here that is going to be a major shift in American foreign policy. We saw that during the campaign. We've seen it since the election. Certainly earlier we was talking about he might even invite Chinese President Xi Jinping to the inauguration. His relationship with North Korea. This is a massive shift. There may be uncertainty about other items which are going to happen in this administration, but moving more in line with foreign policy, certainly closer to where Russia is, has long been telegraphed.
Well, and he didn't really want to show his cards on any major decision where international news is concerned. So let's talk about some of his domestic comments there during that news conference. He also talked about his picks to lead some of our nation's top posts, but also, and this was very Trumpian, so to speak, he talked about primarying people who did not get behind him. Let's listen into that, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
I'll give you a different answer, an answer that you'll be shocked to hear. If they're unreasonable, if they're opposing somebody for political reasons or stupid reasons, I would say has nothing to do with me. I would say they probably would be primaried. But if they're reasonable, fair, and really disagree with something or somebody, I could see that happening.
So is that the president-elect putting his thumb on the scales, so to speak, and is it a threat?
Absolutely. Look, particularly with the Pete Hegseth nomination for the Pentagon, it wasn't that long ago where Joni Ernst, who's going to be coming up soon for re-election out of Iowa, was expressing hesitation, and now she's fully on board with Hegseth. And I think that, you have to, we know Trump. He's been on the national stage for many years now. Coming into this second term, is his second tour in the White House. He and his team understand the levers of power so much better than they did before. And one of the key levers of power is running people against, senators, congressmen who don't do what you want. So yes, absolutely. That's a real threat.
So let's talk about the headlines regarding President-elect Donald Trump's picks for health agencies. Of course, we know that RFK Jr. is on the Hill pre-confirmation to try to meet with senators and rally support there. But we also understand that some of the people who will also be in positions to pull the levers, as you speak, relative to our nation's health policy, have policies and positions that are different from RFK. How do you square that?
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Trump actually, talking a little bit about the vaccines, stance on that. You do get the impression, obviously, that Trump is the chief executive of this branch. There's a key question on how influential RFK Jr. would be in terms of the machinations of HHS. One thing I was talking about a week ago with one of my transition sources, he was mentioning that a lot of the focus really is more on, as you noted, on these deputy secretary positions, kind of the second and third tier within the incoming administration, how they will be enacting Trump's plans. So, again, it's back to the Trump show. We gotta be watching for who is in his ear at any given moment. It can change at any given moment, and these press conferences they do help. Not always clear, but it does give you a little bit more indication of what might be coming.
All right, Tom, thank you so much for joining us on CBS News 24/7. A lot to take apart where that news conference is concerned, and much more here on CBS News 24/7 and on the CBS Evening News.